It's the Weekly InSalt, episode 257. What's up, everybody? I'm CD's nuts. How's it going?
That's how you're starting the show?
Yeah, I'm CD. What's up?
But not much, man. My name's Wade.
How are you, Wade?
Nice to meet you, bro.
Nice to meet you, too. We're joined with our sound engineer, Kurt. How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you?
And some special guests. I'm good. Thank you very much. We have some brewery loyalty in the studio today.
Royalty or loyalty?
Royalty, yes. Thank you.
I think both work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe we had a couple beers at the brewery today. Anyway, we're joined by Chad Hopkins and David Jimenez.
He still fucked it up.
I fuck it up. Jimenez. Thank you. Every time, dude.
Dude,
like
the
even
whole
on the show,
truck
like,
ride too. You like so you just psyched yourself out.
Seriously, like it was dead silence. Like we're listening on like medium volume, like to some mumble rap, and I'm in the back seat going,
It's okay, you're not the only one.
Chad from Hopkins Brewery and David from Tastemasters Podcast.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
I created a hot sheet for this episode just for you guys because David, you have a little bit of history with the show. You've been you've been on our show before, and you've been here for one of our food challenges as a judge.
Yes.
Which Kurt single-handedly blames you for him not winning.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Salty. That's why you guys changed it to insult.
Yeah, right? No, but what I wanted to bring up right off the bat is that instead of meeting at a normal bar that we do, we went down to Hopkins Brewery in Sugarhouse, and dude, that place is sweet. Just the layout, the vibe of it is awesome.
It's a great location. That's like downtown Sugarhouse. You know, that's where all the hot shit's going. Not counting the building that went on fire right behind the brewery, but
yeah, it's become its own little downtown area lately. So
it's crazy how like Sugarhouse is like popping right now. It's like a little Salt Lake City hub, you know?
yeah.
I'm glad I got a new truck so that I could drive on those Sugarhouse streets, man. They're a little rough right there.
And they're all getting redone over the next couple of years, so that's going to be interesting for
It'll be
us.
a nightmare.
Yeah, there's no room down there to do lane closures and stuff. It's already pretty packed.
Just close the city and just fix all the roads and then reopen the city.
Yeah. Luckily, there's tracks behind us.
Yeah.
So you can sneak your ass in there somehow.
It is really crazy how much that area has grown upwards. You know, like now they're putting those giant apartment buildings, and it's definitely not the Sugarhouse I grew up in. You know, or grew up around going to there.
I grew up there in the 80s and 90s, and there were like wide open parking lots and all sorts of shit. And
yeah.
No tall buildings, nothing over like 3 or 4 stories.
Yeah, maybe that's the second downtown, Sugarhouse.
Yeah, and that's just the past 20 years. It's like they've run out of space, and now it's going up.
I think I bought my very first like weed pipe across the street from your brewery at Wizards and Dreams.
I did too, actually. Yeah.
And then I think Hopkins Brewery, your brewery, was a Blue Boutique at some point.
Really close. Just so back in the 90s, it was my stomping grounds. Like I was born in the early 80s, so like I grew up just a few blocks away, so we used to hang out there. And there's right next to where our building is. I mean, it was Granite Furniture, but next to us was the heavy metal shop.
Yeah,
and so many of our friends would hang out at the heavy metal shop, and then there's Blue Boutique. It was awesome. Like this big sex shop was like in Utah. It's like, this is weird. Like, how are they doing this? And around the corner, you had a hip hop shop, you had a record shop, you had a skate shop, and then you had like a laser tag place, an arcade. Like, it was fucking awesome.
There's that little A-frame bar called just the bar in the bar in Sugarhouse, and they only had one thing, like Coors Banquet on tap. Yeah. It was like $1 for a beer. I used to work at the Wild Oats across the street, and you know, on our lunch breaks, we'd walk over and have some beers lunch. Yeah. But yeah, it's a really historical part of town, but it's kind of turned pretty schwanky, which is really good for you. I think it's like a great location for a brewery.
It's like, I mean, like, it used to be just kind of like a rundown, kind of like bad part of town, you know, and like now it's, like you said, it's kind of like before the Wild Oats was there. Like Ranch used to be where Wild Oats is, or Whole Foods is now. So
Ranch?
Yeah, they used to be right there.
What's Ranch?
The record shop just up the street from us.
Oh, okay.
It's on 21st South. That's what. If you haven't been there yet, you need to check that out.
I haven't been there.
So we had some lunch and a couple beers over at Hopkins Brewery, and you gave us a little tour. And it's a really cool building. Like, there's like some underground tunnels and secret stairways and shit. Like,
I wouldn't say it's secret. Just over the years, it's been built for so many different uses.
Yeah, it's like 140 years ish old.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's been a lot of things. I mean, mostly the furniture store for like 100 years. So.
Yeah, that is interesting, and the fact that like in the basement there was a fire at some point that they were like, it's fine.
Yeah, just cover that.
Just
up.
cover
That's
that
okay.
up. I guess somebody had to take a look at it, and like some engineer, and be like, good enough for government work.
Yeah, it looks like it was. They didn't even like really repair it until recently when they did that remodel. So.
Yeah, that's a little sketchy.
So you guys, I know, David, you've been doing the Tastemasters podcast for 2 or 3 years now, right?
Yeah, it's for 3 years.
And then Chad, you also kind of sometimes fill in as like a guest host.
Yeah. So I damn, David interviewed me 2-ish years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
You know what I can appreciate, why I love listening to your podcast is you obviously like to talk about beer. You're very experienced in it, but even just this last episode, you had the King's Peak
coffee roasters.
Yeah. So it's not just alcoholic beverages. It's just things that we like to put in our mouth.
Yeah, just showcasing artists within the local fermentation world, and sometimes coffee goes into those beverages, so might as well. They're artists just as much as we are, right?
Yeah.
Funny thing about King's Peak, real quick, the vault that you guys didn't see that's in Chad's place, the same model of vault is at King's Peak as well.
No shit.
Oh, really? Huh?
Mm-hmm. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. That was really cool getting to walk down to where you do all the brewing and stuff like that. The way that it's tied into like the main restaurant and upstairs, and you can see from the windows and everything. That's super sweet. But then the best part is just everything that you can't see from the windows, all the stuff that you're working on and stuff that's aging. And you really get the sense of, you're you're down here having fun and enjoying what you do, but it's definitely taken very seriously. Yeah. I just want to try all those things that were in the little small batches. I'm like, I bet this is all good.
Well, shout out to Matt Yeager, because Matt's the brewer over at Hopkins, and the fact that Chad has him, he's kicking ass, and Matt's one of the most underrated brewers I think in Utah.
Yeah.
He's super passionate, and he's been with us since day one. Started as just a door guy part time, and now he's the head brewer, and he's kicking
crazy.
ass.
I was listening to another podcast that you were on recently, Chad, and you had mentioned Matt and how you guys kind of play off each other's, he might want to try something that you might not like, and you want to try something that he might not like, and you guys kind of play off each other's, like, try this motherfucker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have very different palates, too.
Yeah.
Very different styles of beer, and so it's like, we have a Hefeweizen on the menu. I'm like, I would never brew a Hefeweizen. Kind of like 20 years ago, I'd be into that. But like,
what's a Hefeweizen? What?
Yeah, so I'm like,
you guys are like total beer nerds. So pardon me if I.
But he makes a fucking killer Hefeweizen. It's probably one of the best I've ever had. And
Hefeweizen.
Hefeweizen.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you want to get all technical with it,
he's just pronouncing it like somebody who knows beer.
I'm sounding like a 21-year-old Mormon girl. Like, can I have a Hefeweizen?
Just like,
I mean, that's acceptable
David
too. I mean,
Jimenez.
So I might be cheating because I have a screen behind you, but I read all about Hopkins on your website and things like that. What was your initial okay, let's do Hopkins Brewery? It seems like you've had a long history of working in the restaurant industry or just food and beverage.
Oh yeah, so I've been working in restaurants since I was a teenager, and leadership. I was a GM at 22 and really got into just running a restaurant. I'm like, I guess this is what I'm doing now. And then I eventually got into consulting, so I would help people open restaurants and fix their restaurants, and that was fun. It was a lot of work.
Yeah. You were doing like kitchen nightmares type thing where you would go to
John
a
Taffer.
Oh yeah.
Like, you guys have got this all messed up. I'm here to help.
Yeah, that was some of my favorite stuff. Is you walk in restaurants, you're like, this is disgusting, and like, how are you guys in business? And then kind of turn around and give them systems and figure it out. And but then also like growing up here in Utah and being a beer drinker, there's no fucking beer. There was no beer until now, which is awesome. But before then, there's nothing. So I'm like, I gotta like, what's this beer? My friends bring me beer, and I'm like, where do I get this?
Yeah.
You got to go like multiple states away to get this. So.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing we're really fortunate with nowadays in Utah is there is that big scene, that microbrew scene, and it seems most people are willing to collaborate and work together, and it's kind of like this goal of let's just create good beer, and less about, oh, I want to be bigger than you, or I want to.
Yeah, if you go with that aspect, you're not going to make it out here. Like it's just we're all good friends out here, and we all want to make good beer, and we welcome more brewers because Utah still needs more breweries.
Yeah,
I agree. I can really appreciate what you do with your podcast, David, as you bring kind of the beer community together, and you work at Strap Tank.
Yeah.
But, you work closely with Chad and all these other brewers, Hans Kombucha, just all these local people.
Hans.
It's Hans.
Everybody calls us Hans. It's fine.
You can't pronounce Hefeweizen.
Apparently,
right,
I can't pronounce anything today, but you know what I'm saying. Like, you just bring the community together, and I think that's really important. Like, you see that I'd like to see that more in like the podcast community, and you do see that. There's like some podcast meetups that I like to go to, but you see with like stand-up comedians or whatever, just like there's enough pizza in the pie. This metaphor might be fucking
train
up.
wreck of that saying,
but you know what I'm saying. Like you're bringing the community together, and I can really appreciate that.
Thank you. I mean, the only thing it's all about learning from each other. Yeah. I don't know everything, so once you surrender the fact that you don't know everything, and it opens the world for you, and bringing everyone in and learning from them. I mean, I've learned from Chad. Chad's probably learned from many others, and everyone in the industry is beautiful. And you going back to collaborations, like I preach collaborations. I think collaboration should happen in every venue, every aspect of everywhere. I mean, I think restaurants should collaborate. I would love to see that. Like I would be really cool, even as simple as Wendy's and Burger King coming together and having a collaboration.
Junior Bacon Whopper.
That would be so cool. You know what I mean? But we're also like, I feel like in the world where it's me, and flex, but like, you know what? It kind of humbles you to go and collaborate with someone else.
And Chad, to bring that conversation back to you, is you keep a tap open at your brewery for another local brewer.
Yeah, so there's so much good beer in Utah now. I'm so happy to see us like where we are now. See us come together and be a part of it. It's kind of wild to me, growing up here and doing what we're doing. But I mean, we're a tap only brewery, and being in Utah, we're limited to 5%. So which is fine. Like we make a lot of great 5% beers to style, but there's so many like people come in. I want an IPA. I want a double. Well, great. We have double IPAs and IPAs from other breweries that make excellent beer too. Like, so we have a whole local offering and support our friends, and they love it, and it's just fun. Like you gotta love the whole Utah beer scene.
So Chad, you and I share a professional relationship because I actually clean the windows. You have very, very nice clean windows at your brewery, by the way.
It's very nice. I appreciate that.
You guys were talking about looking through the windows. I'm like, yes, they are very nice, beautiful, clean windows.
No one mentioned that at the table.
But sorry,
literally nobody said that.
Shout out to Clear Advantage Window Cleaning. Anyway, but what I enjoy, I come into your brewery, I do work, but I also like to look on the board and see the menu, and I see that there's this Strap Tank Smoke Lichtenheiner. Yeah, I'm totally brutalizing that word too, but it's cool to see that and to try these new things. And what I like to do, I don't want to like go into the details of our professional relationship, but I get a gift card that I like to use and to bring in someone every month, someone new that's never been to your brewery before, and have them try the food and try the different beers. And it's always really cool because every time I come in, there's something new. There's always a new project or a new ale or I'm probably going to lose the word like firkins or small batches.
No, just small batch.
Yeah.
And we're a tiny brewery. I appreciate you bringing people in. It's fun to share our little space, and yeah, we do a lot of like we're such a small brewery. You're gonna anytime you come in, it's gonna be something new. So
yeah, and also you know there's like jazz night and what's the three old guys?
The two old guys. But it usually ends up being three old guys.
yeah. It's a really good environment. So I can appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, man.
David, I had to kind of laugh at. I wrote a note down because I went back to see which episode we were on your show, and I think it was. Let me just get my sheet so I don't say something that's not true. But what made me laugh about it, we were on episode 73 of Tastemasters. Can you pull it up, Kurt? You have a link for it? If you put that on the screen. I just want to read the description because this is when we were called Messing with Mormons, and this is why we changed our name because like the very first. This is the link in the hot sheet to Tastemasters, just so you know. Yeah, good. Take your time. But it starts off like, no, we're definitely not messing with any Mormons. And I'm like, the name was cool, but it kind of ran its course.
Yeah.
But it made me laugh also the way that you listed our names because you put Ches first.
Oh, shit.
How dare you?
CD always does that too. He's like, "Wait,
I'm alphabetical order. I'm should be first, right?"
That's what
I think was it by the photo was Ches on the far left?
It
I probably did by the photo, like who I saw.
I think when
we were writing it was probably what it was.
With your podcast, so when we went to record with you, you're in Utah County. Do you still record in Utah County?
No, so that studio you guys were at, my producer actually moved further south. So that studio actually closed down. And now it's in Spanish Fork, and I haven't, and I won't bring individuals to Spanish Fork because it was difficult just to get people to come to Orem. You know, most of my guests have been from Salt Lake or even Ogden, and bringing people to Utah County is kind of a pain in the ass. Even bringing people to Strap Tank is a pain in the ass, even though it's one exit after the next exit after the point of the mountain.
Right.
People have it in their head, oh, Salt Lake. After Salt Lake's the point of the mountain, then Provo. Then after Provo, it's like Scipio, Beaver, St. George. Like you kind of get lost in all that. And it's for example, for me, it's Salt Lake. North of Salt Lake is Bountiful.
Ogden. Everything's Ogden after North Salt Lake.
And then Idaho, right?
Right.
And so
everything's Provo after like Utah. Yeah.
So once he left, my producer's still my producer. Great guy. He does a lot of the back work, but I took mine mobile. So now I have like a little suitcase and everything, and I take all mine mobile. And you know, Chad was for a while, Chad was giving me his space to record there. So it was like a neutral, let's all meet at Hopkins. And then it was a really good time to bring people to Hopkins, have Chad give the whole tour every time. And everyone was like, this place is so rad. And like, we spent like 3 or 4 hours every time just, you know,
that's fun.
New guests, new people, and new faces. And they're like, this is awesome. Like Chad's place is a really good example of craft beer, right? Of craft of the seeing what's going on there.
Yeah. You got it. You found it.
And Utah County's just a weird place.
It is kind of weird I don't know, for whatever reason, people think that that's far away if you live in the valley.
That's really not.
Really, I live in Sandy, so if I leave from here, it's like 20 minutes to downtown or maybe a little bit less, and it's the same amount of time to go south that direction, just around the point of the mountain.
Yeah, I make the drive all the time. I'm the one that comes up to Salt Lake for all y'all, so it's like, I know this guy. Just come this way one time.
Is that challenging to mobilize your podcast? I couldn't imagine hauling all this shit around.
No, I don't think so. For me, it wasn't.
You guys have your producer here, so
yeah.
It's kind of
you now. Yeah, it is. No, and I think that we try to really run like a live, kind of like a more of a live format. I try to keep editing to minimum. And I don't have like this sheet I have has like a few facts just to remember episode numbers that were important, and the rest we just fly by the seat of our pants.
Nice.
I was listening to some of this, and it was funny because CD brought up earlier. He said, "Yeah, on your podcast, on the Tastemasters episode that we were on, like you don't really have people that like you don't get drunk, or anything like that." And I was like, I bet if I listen to some of this, I can. When I listen to CD, I'm like, oh yeah, he's having fun now.
Yeah.
I listened back and it was good. It was still great to go back and listen to it again.
But that was an example of an episode where bringing you boys in and trying to educate you further on, that was a Grid City, right? So we went through the different styles and different ABV and different techniques of one beer can change 3 different ways.
Yeah.
It was really cool. That's a really cool time.
I learned a lot on that one episode about beer because it taught me a different way to taste beer. Some people just taste it and they're like, oh, I don't like that. But then when you start breaking it down into, no, what do you taste? And then break down, well, I don't like this particular ingredient maybe, or I don't like it this hoppy. Then you can kind of dial it in, and then you start looking at things like the IBUs of a beer, and you can kind of.
But once you start tasting all the beers, you figure out what you want, like what you like. I don't like bitter. I don't like too much bitter, but then there's balance. And that's why I think Chad and I will preach. Grid City is really good. Their motto is taste, balance, finish. Yeah. And I love that because I think every beer, no matter what you're doing, should have all three of those.
Yeah. And when you're creating a new beer, I'm sure at the restaurant, it's not in a closed black box environment. You're like, hey, everybody try this because we want to know everybody's opinion and
absolutely
get different ideas.
And not every beer is a home run. I mean, Chad can attest to that. We're not hitting. Not every beer is like the next gold medal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we all enter competitions and get feedback, and sometimes you got to dump some beer if it's not hitting where you want it. But that's also why we do the small batch stuff too, because it's like, let's fuck with this. Like, let's try this out. Let's try out this weird beer style and something we've never done before. And sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss. And then,
do you notice too when it comes to selling the beers you've created that there's just you can put your finger kind of on what the general market is okay with? Because I'm sure you could like have the smoked beer, a
lot of people might not know what a saison is. Or,
sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's so many levels of beer drinkers.
True.
You can. And when I homebrewed, it was like I would experiment. Like, how can I like there is science says I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to try it anyway and see if it happens. And so I'm like, okay, this didn't turn out. Yeah. Like lagers, like you're supposed to boil them a certain amount of time, lager them a certain way, and I'm like, let's try not doing that.
Yeah.
And it was like buttered popcorn. I'm like, okay, like now I know. Like I tried it out.
Yeah, and I think that's important to like perfecting any trade, right? Is trying those things, even though it says you're not supposed to do it. You push that boundary and you say, okay, now I understand why I don't do it. But then maybe later on down the line, you're like, oh, when I did this, if I want that flavor, I know I can do this now.
What's wrong with buttered popcorn?
Now the problem is I taste that in other beers, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, I know what they did in here.
Yeah,
but then you can go back and fix it. You can give them feedback, like, I know why you had this buttered.
Yeah. But the point I'm getting at though is some of my friends loved that beer and they drank it. Yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna dump this. They're like, no, I'll drink it. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
that's like you're saying, what's wrong with butter popcorn? I love butter popcorn, but
don't pour that out.
Yeah, it was consumed.
Is there like a thought process? And I hate to ask these like very cliche questions or whatever, but is there like a thought process? So I walked in to clean the windows the other day and I saw that you had a mango chili beer, and like instantly thought of like a Kevin Bacon TikTok video or something. But like what goes behind that? What made you think that would be a good combination of beer? Like,
that's a shout out to Scott previously at Salt Flats. I think he's in like Panama now.
He's in Guam right now.
He's in Guam. That's right.
How dare you?
So he and I got set up to do the first Utah Brewers Guild collab, and so we were chatting like, what do we want to do? And like, I don't know, we just put our brains together, and like one of us, he said sour, and I'm like, what kind of sours want me to making around here? Mango. Nobody's doing a mango sour. So I thought about like the mango, like the Mexican mango treats. Those are so good. Like. Mm-hmm. So we kind of put our heads together with that and like did a small batch of it and like tasted different combinations of things, and we made it happen.
Yeah, because that's what you got today when we were at Hopkins, right? You got the mango sour and you were like, do you want the tahini on it and everything?
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, they had tahini and lime, and it was great. It was delicious.
Yeah. That's good.
But I like to cook, and I don't claim to be anywhere close as good of a cook as you guys are to making beer, but I have a book. Sometimes I'm like, okay, asparagus pairs well with hollandaise sauce or steak or this or that. So it's interesting to kind of bend your guys' brains on like your creative process and like, I wonder if that would be good.
David, you brought something that you wanted us to try, didn't you?
Yeah.
We should try it. But now that we're talking about the process of coming up with new ideas and things like that.
Yeah, so this is one of my babies. This is a style that doesn't really get made anymore. And
I'm going to let you crack and pour.
There's only one person that makes a sort of version of this, and that's Chris Dietrich over at Level Crossing, but he does it completely different. He doesn't do it as... I'm doing it to textbook.
Okay.
He does it craft-wise. So he's a really good example of taking a style and doing it your way. And he puts a Jack Mormon black coffee in it. and it's called a Kentucky Common. So the history behind this is, you can pour that for me, Chad. I can't multitask. The history behind this is before the Prohibition, the distillers in Kentucky would have leftover grain and corn, and what they would do is, like, hey, we have this leftover. We're gonna make a beer, right? So they put their leftover ingredients and threw it to a beer, or tried to make a beer out of it. And this is something that they made. And it's typically, the best way I can put this is a Kentucky Common is like an ambered cream ale. There's corn. There's going to be corn in it, and not buttered popcorn corn.
Okay.
But it's going to have corn in it. There's a little bit of a crystal rye from Proximity. This is from Colorado malt, and then a love tap of noble hops. And
When you say love tap, what does that mean? Just a little kiss? Just
Oh, that's you, David.
yeah, just a spritz. Just a love tap.
Seems like a very scientific
But this is something
term.
I'm trying to work on because I would like to, not because I'm not fishing for, like, I don't want, I would like to get a medal for my own recipe, like from start to finish.
Yeah.
And so I'm working on this recipe to try to make a name for to prove that I am a brewer, I guess.
So I think we talked about this when we came on your show, but what's your proper, or at least your technique for tasting a beer? You smell it?
Tasting a beer? Yeah, I always smell first. So you'll see Chad and I, most brewers, before you even drink a beer, you'll look at it and you'll smell it like 15,000 times.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, you want to see if it's, what the color is, which is SRM.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see if it's hazy, if it's clear. And then this one can have chill haze, so you'll see a little chill haze on this one. And then you smell it. You can do the drive-by. Drive-by, you can swirl it, and you can put your hand over it, swirl it, and smell it put it to your nose, smell it. So then the aroma is going to always bring out different flavors, always. And then taste it, and you got to get the flavor, and then you have the mouthfeel, and then you go back to smelling it. So when the beer is still in your palate, go back and smell it, and it keeps giving more and more layers of the beer.
Yeah, it does.
I'm totally having a brain fart right now, but what's the beer version of a sommelier?
Cicerone.
Cicerone, thank you. Have you guys had any traditional Cicerone training at all?
Mm-mm.
I have, and a couple of our bartenders have it too. So, but it's fun. Like we try to encourage everybody, hey, try the test, But we also do a lot of like tastings and stuff, and David and I have done some judging before
Yes,
too.
we do beer judgings here in the state and out of state. We go to Idaho and judge as well.
Dude, that's awesome. I'll tag along on that.
That's why when I,
It's fun.
when I eat food or drink, I'm always smelling things first and tasting it and just feeling the layers of it. And that's probably why Kurt will never be friends with me, because I totally loved your soup, but my bad.
Yeah, I think
Forgive me.
with brewing, a lot of it is similar to cooking too. Except like with brewing, it's very precise. You want to take notes of everything, because any adjustment you make, like you want to make a note of that. Any ingredient you change, or temperature, or any little process you change, you want to make note of that. And if you want to brew that same beer again, you better follow that process. Or
Exactly.
if there's something off with it, don't be changing the whole. You want to change one thing, and then you can kind of dial that in. But it's.
Yeah, because if you change like the length of time that you boil something, and then the thing you're boiling, now there's two variables you've changed. You're like,
Oh yeah.
which one caused the problem?
Yeah, beer's the hardest alcohol to make because it's so precise, and there's just so many things that go into it. So
I think that makes it kind of exciting though, because that opens up the world of like like infinite options basically to brew something. Yeah. We had talked a little bit about I think the idea of doing the history of beer, like you've gone back and looked at beers that are no longer made anymore, and you're like, well, let's recreate that and see what it was like. We'll follow that recipe, and I think that's a really cool idea. Like you could have a bar that did that. Like this is from the 1800s or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. Or it's like the Bayou, or going to Slackwater. You can get beers from other countries. Like what's Bavaria doing? What kind of beer is drank in Madagascar? I don't fucking know, but that I want to know.
Yeah,
right?
I want to try that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just trying, even just going to I like to go eat Chinese and having a Tsingtao
or McDonald's.
Yeah, McDonald's has a really good beer too, but no, just it's interesting to taste the different beers from different countries, and it's like, oh, okay, this isn't Budweiser.
Well, that's interesting. Let's go down that path a little bit, since we have two very qualified people here. What would the McDonald's Pilsner taste like?
I'd be very consistent. You know,
am I drinking it right now?
yeah, I mean that
Budweiser
would definitely be the McDonald's equivalent.
So I purposefully opened one of these because I knew David and Chad are both way into the brewing thing. And well, today is also the Super Bowl, right? What more American beer than a Budweiser? But
I'll give you 3 more.
He I guess okay, fair. But I opened it in the kitchen and I didn't say anything to CD. I just grabbed it. And he's like, "You're gonna drink a fucking Budweiser in front of those two? I'm gonna be caught dead with that in my hand." I was like, "That thing's funny." I think.
I don't give a shit.
No, we don't give a shit. But the funny thing is, Chad and I both have Pacificos and Modelo sitting in our fridge right now.
Yeah.
I have a poker game I go to, and our last poker game, I brought a case of Pacifico.
Yeah.
And my own little box of cut up slices of lime.
Yeah, dude. I think Pacifico is one of the only.
Where is this at? Is this at your brewery or your brewery?
Yeah, so
it is.
right now it's a strap tank. Yeah, the Kentucky Common. Yeah, I called it.
Do you have it on tap or is it only in the can?
So we have crowlers, so it's on tap right now. Small batch. So I have just a few left, but you can come down and I'm gonna make a big batch here soon. We're gonna make a big batch here soon.
When you do, let me know so I can come bring my growler.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. We call this one. This one's called the KFC because there is rye in it. So it's Kentucky Common. I called it the Kentucky Fried Common. We'll play on words.
Yeah.
So it's called the KFC. And
how dare you?
Everyone's like, "So does it taste like chicken?" I guess I fucked up the name on that one.
It comes with a side of macaroni and cheese.
I guess the color kind of looks like a good golden fried piece of chicken, you know?
A gravy bowl.
KFC is also from Utah, so
there you go.
I made the mistake of going back to the first KFC or whatever and trying the buffet. Yeah. And I was like, "Man, I've been here forever. I'll try the buffet." I think I showed up a little too late. It was just all like, I don't know. It wasn't the same as when I was a kid. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I went back. I'm like,
I have a KFC across the street from my house, and I ate KFC for my very first time when I was 41 years old.
What did you get?
41. One of those.
The first time?
I've never had KFC.
Holy shit.
Ever.
Yeah,
I had one of those bowls that has like everything in it, you know, like macaroni and cheese and mashed potatoes and
mashed
chicken
potato
bites.
bowls.
And, yeah.
Those are the best.
Wow. Fucking awful. It's awful.
Oh yeah, we used to get KFC all the time. We got that one in Sugarhouse, or
yeah,
like we used to go there when I was a kid.
So I love Sugarhouse. There's some great restaurants.
Can't believe that's still there.
You know, a great brewery in Sugarhouse. There's some great stuff in Sugarhouse, but you have to be careful eating in Sugarhouse too, because that Cafe Rio that moved in where the Carl's Jr. used to be. I don't know, man. The place is a little sus.
We gave Kurt the beer to pour himself a little bit more, and I'm like, "You pour that over the fucking soundboard, you're dead."
Chad, you said you brought some Pacificos to a poker game. I didn't know you're a poker player, bro.
Oh yeah, long time. Used to get really into it, but now it's basically just like hanging out drinking.
Okay.
There's a couple brewers that come and. Don't
invite me to that poker game because I'll just cheat and take all of you.
Yeah, if you want to come make money, you're not going to make any money there. Like we just take each other's money and pass it around, and
So
but we mostly
friendly game.
It's mostly drinking.
Okay. Whenever I hear poker, like that's like poker has been such a big part of my life for almost 21 years now.
Oh, you should come play, dude.
I used to be a poker dealer.
Oh, then you should come fucking play. Okay. You're gonna come to our next poker game.
Do I need to bring like a sock full of nickels or?
Nah, dude.
Are you trying to steal from people? Like knock them out with the sock full of nickels?
No, that sounds dangerous.
No, it's like going to your grandma's game. You pull out a couple nickels, a couple pennies. You know, like it's one of those games where you're like, I see your 25 cents and I raise you another 50 cents. I'm like, okay, that's not a technical.
That can be fun too.
Not a technical raise there, Grandma.
No, there's money.
He's using air quotes.
Yeah, there's money, but
I haven't played a money poker game in a minute.
Yeah. Wait,
that's how Kurt and I met, is through poker.
Oh yeah?
Strip poker.
Do you know in the basement of your building, that wood floor area? I feel like that's a great spot for a poker game.
Well,
that is actually
we've played poker.
Oh yeah.
Now I used to have a really serious game, and it people get really mad when they lose money, so that's just kind of stopped from that.
Yeah.
As
There's
long
no
as
reason
you're
to get
not
too serious about it. You know?
You're not losing your fucking mortgage money
your
or
house deed.
Yeah.
Right.
We've played where people take it so serious, and it's just not fun. It's this is a fun game. Like or somebody that plays no hands, they play one hand and then we're going to cash out. It's like, well, you're not going to give us an opportunity to win that back? Like,
yeah.
They win everyone's money and then just bounce.
You get the
like,
one
okay,
good
well,
hand and they're like, thanks guys, see you next time.
Yeah, like there's a certain respect for time.
For sure.
It's unspoken rules like we talked about at the bar. You know, that's unspoken drinking rules. That's unspoken poker rules.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you don't have to name a name of a restaurant, but I'm going to ask you, what's like the worst place you went into when you were doing that consulting? And you were like, I don't even think that I can save this. Obviously, don't name names because I don't want to talk bad about anything. If they're out of business, then fuck them.
Name it.
I'm not going to throw names out, but I do have a good story of like this guy had money, like construction, like millions of dollars. I'm gonna open a restaurant, and so me and my partner went and helped him open this restaurant. And but he didn't want to learn how to do things.
Sure, because he's got the money, so he's like, you guys just do it.
He's like, I've run construction companies in multiple states, and
he's like micromanaging.
Yeah, like if you haven't worked in a restaurant, you have no clue what it's like, and it's the hardest business to run.
Oh, I'm sure. I think all the time, like ordering food, keeping your food fresh, making sure that you have the turnover and stuff, and cleaning stuff out, and your team is most important, and like. And your margins are shit. Like you're not gonna get rich opening a restaurant. Right. And this guy's like, I'm gonna open this restaurant, and like, whatever. It's like, okay, like really, like listen to what we're telling you. Like you need to be here. You need to be in for training. You need to learn. He's like, I got it.
So yeah, he's like, oh yeah, whatever. So we set it up for him, and I put all the systems in place, got his team running, got it running real smooth. Like gave him the keys, like, okay, here you go.
And he just hands off.
All right, and he's just like, I'm still there as backup. Like you need me, I'll come in. And he's like, oh, my dishwasher didn't show up. I had to learn how to do dishes. Like, that's horrible.
Oh. Yeah, he's just not built to run a restaurant.
Yeah, running my own restaurant, sometimes I do the fucking dishes. Yeah. And I love it. Yeah. It's like one of my favorite things. Like, I'll do dishes. Yeah.
I've seen you do the dishes at your restaurant.
Fucking fun.
But I think also, like you said, when your team's the most important thing, and it is, I think, in a restaurant, you can see sometimes you got to lead by example. You're like, yeah, the dishwasher didn't show up. Nobody's coming in. I'll just do it today.
Yeah.
So what happened to this place then?
I think his brother stepped in and is running it now, and he's better at like taking care of the team and stuff, and so they've got more of a team aspect instead of what was going on. It was very bad, but
yeah, I can imagine you step away and then all of a sudden it comes crashing down real quick, and then you have to build that back up, which is probably horrible for a restaurant's reputation. You always want it to be a perfect experience for everybody. And that kind of segues into us talking about reviews online. That has to be one of the hardest things to deal with. I mean, even for like a brewery, and now there's that beer app where you can rate beers and comment on them and stuff.
Hilarious.
Yeah. On tap.
Yeah, like on tap, or is it on tap or tap?
Untapped.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a page I follow on Instagram called Pilsnerish, and he makes fun of. He used to be called Untapped WTF, I think.
WTF Untapped or whatever.
Yeah, and so he Untapped got mad, made him change his name.
Oh, really?
So now it's Pilsnerish, which comes from somebody who's like, this beer isn't a lager, it's more Pilsnerish. Just the same fucking thing. So
I could see like you and David just sitting down going through Untapped, being like, "This is a bunch of people talking about beer that don't know shit about beer." I'm not saying everybody on there doesn't know anything about beer, but
Untapped is one of the biggest pieces of shit app I've ever seen or used in my entire life.
Yeah,
it's a piece of shit.
Yeah,
it's great. It's kind of like social media for beer, but I signed up for an account and I can't even log into it. I can't remember my password. So what do you do when you forget your password? You have like a password reset, and it won't do that. Like, well, you have to log in through Facebook. Fuck you, Facebook. I don't want to do that shit. And then,
and apparently it's the app review show with CD now.
Who really goes on to Untapped to see like, oh, I'm going into Hopkins Brewery today. Should I see what they think about the
I think we
Irish
have
red
one
ale?
Listener listening right now that would be like, I do that all the time.
Maybe.
From what I've heard, it's good to like track what beers you've had, and so like, oh, I've had this beer and I've had this beer. That's cool. Like,
yeah, that's great. Also, you can take pictures
Yeah.
You know?
My favorite though is people that are like, oh, it says it's this style, but it's this. Like somebody got a Belgian triple. I'm getting this triple IPA and it's a Belgian triple. It's like, no, it's not.
It's not. Yeah.
What's a triple IPA?
Or people say like, oh, best beer I've ever had. 3.75 stars. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't. Something there doesn't
beer's
add up.
perfect. 4 stars.
4
Like,
stars.
God.
We were talking before too of it was just a mention, but and sorry to those of you who do like this beer. I think it's okay, but if somebody comes into like a craft brewery and they're like, "Yeah, can I get a Blue Moon?" It's like, if you like it, great, that's fine. And everybody to each their own. But that's definitely like you're instantly labeled as, "Oh, you don't drink beer much, do you?" You
No.
know? It's like the beginner beer, you know.
I mean, I definitely went through my phase when I was 21 and going to bars for the first time. Like, yeah, I drank plenty of fucking Blue Moon with oranges in it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was over 20 years. I'm in my 40s. Like there was not much craft beer. There wasn't craft beer back then. It wasn't a thing.
Yeah, and then people get kind of upset, like, "Oh, well, you don't have it on tap?" Like, come on, man, it's Blue Moon. It's like,
The Chevron's across the street. Let's go.
Chevron's across the
God.
Do you guys even carry any other beers other than you obviously like you have the open tap for
Just local shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most breweries in Utah only have local. There's one. The only place I can think of is proper in Moab, because it's a destination kind of location.
Oh yeah, true.
They're gonna have 3 to 5 tabs, like Bud Light, Budweiser, Pacifico. Yeah, just in case, people that come. I mean, sometimes you're like, "Hey, dude, I don't want any of your craft stuff. I just want what I'm comfortable with." I get it. I totally get it.
Dude, there's lots of Asians that like to go to Moab and they want to taste the Budweiser.
Where is this at?
As that whole thing happened, I was in my head because I was trying to understand why whenever I get sushi, that's the only time I drink like a Japanese beer.
Exactly.
You know? Like I never go to anywhere else and be like, "Oh yeah, I want a what is it?
Sapporo.
Yeah.
Sapporo.
I went to Germany and I'm like, well, God, you have to have a German beer. I can't think of any right now.
Yeah.
It escapes me. But I'm like, then I see Blue Moon or Budweiser or whatever. I'm like, oh, I'll have one of those, and it's like $20.
Yeah, you had to go get a Hans.
Well, no,
it's Hans from Germany.
No, it's imported. So I don't know. Maybe people like that shitty beer, but.
Then another thing, we talked about travel a little bit too, and just in traveling and trying other beers, I think is one of my favorite things. I had the opportunity to go to Bulgaria for work, and when I was out there, the people were all like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna go drink the warm beer, huh?" And I was like, I'd actually like to understand what the warm beer is, and I got one, and it was great. They're like, it's almost better this way. It would suck if you chilled it.
Yeah, you're gonna taste all the things that way.
Yeah,
Not
when
all beer should be cold.
Yeah,
That's true.
And over there, they have like issues with the water. Like it's not like the United States where pretty much every water store, everywhere you go, there's clean water, you can drink it. So they, keep it warm. They don't have ice everywhere. In the past, they never did. So it's like, here's your beer, it's just warm. And it was good, man. It was like one of those experiences. I'm like, why has nobody done this in the U.S.? But I just think it's too foreign,
Yeah, I mean that's how all beer used to be consumed. So and it's the cold, like that's why like Budweiser is like the ice cold. Oh my god, like it's the coldest beer ever. Yeah, it's gonna hide every off flavor. Let some of those beers warm up, you're gonna taste some shit.
That's true.
Some things you don't want to taste.
That's when people go, "Oh, my beer's piss right now. It's all warm."
So it is the McDonald's, because like the fries go bad in 10 minutes. The Budweiser goes bad in 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Drink those beers cold as fuck, and they're great.
Yeah.
I like to call those trunk beers.
Trunk beers.
Beers?
The ones that have been hot and cold and hot and cold and hot and cold in your trunk forever. And they're like, I'll crack this open. It tastes like shit.
Oh, man.
Yeah, as long as it's cold, it'll taste just fine.
It tastes like an import now.
Yeah, if you go to a brewery or a bar and you order like a really nice beer, like usually a stout, like, and they serve it to you fucking cold, like 30 degrees, let that fucker sit and warm up a bit so you can actually taste it and enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. So you guys obviously, you're very passionate about beer, and every time I talk to you, David and Chad, you and I are recent friends, but do you guys are like the magic scientist wizards of beer, and I get so confused hearing you talk about this kind of barley and this kind of malt and blah blah blah. Do you ever fuck around with anything else? Like, do you like to like drink a cocktail every once in a while? Maybe a glass of wine?
Negroni or something?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, David was a bartender before getting into beer, you know, and we, at our bar, we do a lot of cocktails and I mean, Utah has so many great distilleries too, so we do a lot of like local spirits, and so we do a lot of focus on that too, so.
Yeah, that's awesome.
David?
That's cool.
I love to, like Chad was saying, you know, the distilleries around here are great. That's why I showcase them. You know, they're fantastic. The only thing Utah's missing is my kryptonite is tequila. I love tequila. But you can't get tequila, good tequila, true tequila in Utah. There's an agave spirit up at New World Distillery in Eden, Utah.
Yeah.
But
No
besides
shit.
Besides that, you don't.
I think
get
you had them on your podcast recently.
Not yet.
Okay.
It's in the works, actually.
Okay, cool.
FYI. Secrets.
But,
You know, so I love having some whiskey from, you know, Clearwater has this French Armagnac and American rye barrel combination, and it's my favorite whiskey when it comes to, like, aged whiskey in Utah right now.
Yeah.
And then Distillery 36 has the best spiced rum. Outlaw Distillery has the best coffee, vanilla, and just straight rum.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's good stuff out there. And every once in a while I'll get home, like, you know what, I want to enjoy a beverage, but I don't want... Because sometimes I'm kind of a health freak in a way, so I look at this big ass beer and I'm like, man, that's a lot of calories.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd rather have straight whiskey or some vodka
Yeah.
or, you know, good absinthe from Holy Stone. They make the only absinthe in Utah, and that absinthe kicks ass.
So good.
Really? Oh,
Mhm.
man, I got to try that.
I feel like liquor is like the shortcut to the party. You know what I mean?
It can be.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's, you know, I enjoy a good beer. For me, I lean towards more of a lighter beer. And so I've got a lot of friends. There's a group text chat that we talk about. And they're always talking about IPAs and double stout box and shit. I'm like, whoa. I just want a nice light Pilsner, but that nice cocktail, that'll get me
Every
to the,
once in a while, yeah.
that'll get me to the party real quick.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
a sour beer guy. Anytime I see a new sour beer that I haven't heard of, I'm like, I'll take it just to try it. You know,
Nice.
I don't know why. I mean, sometimes I'm like really sour though. Like I'd rather it taste more like sweet tarts than a beer. You know, I don't know. But I think sour beers are like, that's the thing about beers. Each class you can go so deep into it. You know, if you have a lager, you can do millions of things with it. Millions of things with a Pilsner. Just
Yeah, each category is vast.
Yeah.
And it can get from like a simple, easy drinking beer to something complex that is going to take some time and
Yeah.
you want to really enjoy it, or, you know. The world of beer is huge.
and then you get into like aging,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
adds a whole different layer to it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like there's some beers that are so good and they taste delicious, and I want to order every time I go to this particular restaurant or this particular brewery, but I can only drink one because it is so complex, you know? I think like Shades, they make a lot of those sour beers. Like, whoa, this Tomka sour beer is good, but I don't know if I want to drink
Soup all the time.
yeah, drink soup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, that goes back to drinking Pacifico and
Yeah.
Budweiser. It's like,
You know it's going to be good. It's going to be consistent.
yeah, you don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this is delicious. It's refreshing, and I don't have to sit here and dissect it. You know, like,
I think that's what. I mean, sometimes for us, we're always in the background trying to create, and we're always, even our friends' beers, we're always trying to break down. Like, okay, let me try to figure out what malt and what hops to use in it. Right? We're always breaking it down, and sometimes we just want to go home or go to a party or go somewhere and just turn our brain off and not have to think about it and just
Yeah.
drink the Pacifico.
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah.
know what it is. I don't have to be like,
yeah.
this Pacifico, it's a little, you know.
Been doing that all week. You know?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's all-
exactly. I don't want to go home and do that.
I was listening to a podcast with both of you guys. It was a Tastemasters podcast, and I can really appreciate you. It sounds like you guys both at Strap Tank and at Hopkins use a local hops. Is it
local
malt.
a local malt? Okay, sorry. Beer
You're
stupid.
good.
But this particular episode I thought was very interesting, and I kind of wanted to bend your guys' brains about it a little bit. And I'm totally going to butcher this, and I can't remember her name, but she's a local brewer, and she came up or told you guys about a device that injects a flavor into the beer.
oh, Amanda. She's one of my bartenders. She does.
She was there at Hopkins today.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's the one with the glasses?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That was her.
Yeah.
That's the Randall.
The Randall, yes, thank you. I couldn't remember the name of it, but it
Fucking
sounded
love
so
that episode.
interesting. I want to hear more about that, and maybe explain to our listeners exactly what the Randall is.
So in the episode we did have, she brought 2 different versions of the Randall, and basically you put a bunch of ingredients inside of this container, and beer flows through it, so it picks up all those flavors, and then you have an outcome. So you take whatever beer, inject it with all these flavors, and then it comes out a beautiful product.
It could be like
confusing.
bubble gum, or like Pop Tarts, or runts, orange banana runts.
She did like pineapple habanero or something.
Yeah, we did a pineapple habanero, and then we did a marshmallow.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Lemon tart, some with a pale ale, and it made the pale ale just. It was awesome.
Yeah. So you're basically infusing any beer that's been brewed already with additional flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's cool. Huh.
So what it does is that when you pour from the keg or pull from the keg has to go through the system to the tap, right?
Okay, yeah.
So in between that, it's hitting all these ingredients and coming out.
That's cool. That's a really cool idea.
It all started at Dogfish Head in Delaware, Rhode Island. They've got a couple locations over there, but they I think it's all Delaware, but they had this little tiny bar, and like they did this dry hop, this beer that's like, we mash hop it, we boil hop it so many times, dry hop it, and then you pour it off the tap, and then it's tap hopped through the Randall, like
you're
insane.
like, holy shit. But I can see how that kind of makes you a little unique, and it's cool to experiment that, especially when you're a brewer, you're thinking new things. And then you try to brew something specifically to pass through an ingredient. Be like, let's see how that turns out.
I mean, take your Budweiser, for example. I mean, you know what it's going to taste like. Everyone knows what it's going to taste like. So why not like a spicy pineapple Budweiser?
Yeah.
So when you're pouring it off, you get that, right?
Yeah.
When I homebrewed, I bought a bunch of hops, and I did an experiment. Got a bunch of Bud Light bottles because of the twist cap on them. And I dry hopped a whole bunch of different bottles with different hops.
Yeah.
Kept them cold for a week. And then we did a dry hop testing. Let's see what all these, because Bud Light makes a great like neutral base beer for dry hopping, and so we dry hopped all these Bud Lights and tasted all these different hops, and it was awesome because it really showcased the hops.
Huh? That's a great idea. I never would have thought of that.
I think we did it at the brewery.
Really neutral, like Budweiser's just no strong flavor. You drink a 30-pack, you know.
Yeah, it's like vodka, like all the different like spirits and stuff you can make off of like a neutral grain spirit, like. Budweiser's like a neutral beer. You can add all sorts of shit to it and make it something else.
Bohemian does a sour beer, I think in the fall, where they give you 2 different little flavorings. I think it's like...
Oh, Berliner Weiss.
Yeah, the Berliner Weiss. And then they've got the 2 syrups that they give you with a growler. And then when you can pour some in your glass and pour the sour in there, that totally changes it. I was like, that was cool. Like,
yeah, it's very like classic German.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I just never had... They were like, well, which syrup do you want in your Berliner Weiss? I was like, I don't know. Yeah. What are you talking about?
All of
they're
the
like,
syrups.
oh, you need to try this. And I was like, yeah, I'll take your growler.
So is the Randall the actual contraption? Is that something that you have at the brewery? Is that something that you offer? Is that just kind of like a insider type, secret?
So I believe Dogfish Head patented the Randall, so you can buy a Randall device. But Amanda built her own, multiples.
Yeah, she homebrews, and
That's
so
cool.
she has a couple at home, and she's like, Can we
She's
do
a
this?
secret badass in the industry. She really is.
So we need what's Amanda's address?
I'm not giving you that. No, sir.
It's 8-5. No.
Son of a bitch.
1, 2, 3.
Don't make me call the lawyers today.
Springfield, wherever state you want to think of. No, it seems really cool to going back to like with the cooking and coming up with your own creations. Like, wow, the world is your oyster. Yeah, but then, including an oyster Randall Bud Light.
Think about this too, and I'm sure
we're making oyster stout too. So.
What? Yeah. An oyster stout?
Yeah, Bewilder's the last one that came out with an oyster stout.
I'd try it. I'd 100% try it. It doesn't sound.
We do a small batch oyster stout.
No shit.
Yeah.
Dude, good. Chad, you got to text me and let me know when you got that.
That's good.
Matt makes a steak ale beer. Tastes like Worcestershire sauce.
No shit.
Worcestershire, awesome. Peppercorn, horseradish. It's actually
fun.
Very drinkable.
Can you guys make like a taco seasoning Mexican ale or something?
What about Doritos? Can you like do it?
Oh my god,
like a Dorito IPA?
He did a ranch beer because he's making fun of some other breweries that did some shit, and he's like, "I'm gonna do a ranch." So that's what's great about small batches. It's like we can make something totally fucked up, and then also like other styles that like we want to kind of experiment with. And just throw a fucked up one in there.
And sometimes those fucked up ones, I'm sure you stumble on something that you're like, there's something in this that kind of works.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, that's why they do the small batch, so you can dump it. It's not going to be expensive as dumping a big ass batch, right?
Yeah.
But also, it comes back to simplicity. You know, Budweiser and Pacifico and Modelo, they're the same every time.
Yeah.
And as a brewer, it's very difficult to have that exact time
same.
every single time. That's hard.
That's the hardest beer to make, is those really clean beers, because they'll show any flaw.
Yeah. Yeah. Any change in the process, any temperature off, you're just fucked.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Do you use that as your advantage with your brewery, trying something new every time because you can't exactly replicate it the way it was before?
On our main batches, you know, we follow that philosophy and try to make it exactly the same. We take notes of every little detail. I mean, I know David and Derek at Strap Tank, you know, same thing. I mean, most brewers are doing that, trying to really make sure you dial those beers in perfectly every single time. But with small batches, it's like whatever, we made this beer before. Let's change something up.
Yeah.
Let's see how we can make it better. But that's how, you know, our beers get from the small batch to the big batch.
Yeah.
Chad and David, I want to ask you guys both this question. We can start with you, Chad. Do you guys have any thoughts about distribution at all in the future?
Kinda, but you know, my favorite thing right now, like I used to.
You have a beautiful, quaint brewery in Sugarhouse. It's a great place, but
I mean, before Utah had the breweries we had, I would drive to Evanston, as I'm sure you did many times, and you go get all sorts of things up there, get lots of beer, and it's like whatever. This is, you know, this beer is pretty good. Like, that's a higher point, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but now you go to the brewery, like, I get to see the brewery, the people. I get to see the whole brew house. I get to see the people that go into making that beer. And so now when I buy local beer, I buy it directly from the brewery, and that's my favorite part, you know. And so we might throw some beers out there, but if we do, it's going to be at other breweries or craft beer bars. You know, I don't want to be in the grocery store, in the liquor store, sitting warm on a shelf. Like,
yeah, sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a culture behind the beer, and there's passion, and there's people behind it, and I think that's most important.
Yeah, that's very well put.
David, what about Strap Tank? Have you guys thought about,
Yeah, I thought about it. So for Strap Tank, all I can say with Strap Tank is there's things in the works. You may or may not see some stuff, but right now, for sure, we just had Lehigh has a crowler machine now, so you can get 32 ounce cans like I brought today at Lehigh and Springville. And then we also do growlers. We have metallic and glass growlers that you can come and refill.
Under 64 ounces.
Okay. So now that I think about it, my growler is actually 128 ounce.
There's the caveat right there.
Yeah, I just realized that normal growlers are 64
ounces. So we'll talk after this. But when it comes to distribution, personally, I like where I'm at in Strap Tank because we, kind of like Chad, we are small and we want you to come to the brewery and have an experience. Come have our beer. Yeah. Try it here.
The food's good too.
Yeah, the food's really good.
Yeah.
And then I can always I feel like I always end up bringing beer to Salt Lake because a lot of people don't really come. Matt and Chad come all the time, but I wish people came and tried our beer because with the team effort, Julia's kicking ass in Springville. I mean, she's the brew queen down there. She's the best. And then Derek and I are honing in trying to get some awards and trying to make a name for ourselves.
Yeah.
You can't say Hopkins, you can't say Taste or Strap Tank, but you don't have to say your favorite necessarily, but where's a local brewery that's sticking out in your mind right now that you would recommend to go to?
Desert Edge.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Desert Edge is underrated, and Matt Burdick is just kicking ass right now. I just had one of his Belgian doubles, and it is a fucking amazing beer, and he is doing a great job by himself. He's doing all the work. And they're one of the oldest breweries in Utah, and they're so underrated. And then I also will throw out Heber Valley Brewing, Clint Jones over in Heber Valley.
Clint Jones.
He's kicking ass. And he makes the best Belgian beer in Utah, and I will go to the grave with that.
Chad.
Yeah, Desert Edge has been around since 95, I think.
Oh, really?
And that location's been there since the 70s. And they're in Trolley Square. It's such a cool place to go to. And it's a brew pub, too. You can take kids, you got food. It's awesome. So...
I guess I need to give Desert Edge a second chance. I have a little bit of a thorn in my side with them because I used to clean the windows at the Pottery Barn across the street, across the sidewalk from Desert Edge. And Desert Edge has an outdoor patio, and there would be people that would spit. For whatever reason. I don't know why people feel the need to spit in public. But that spit would land on those windows, and man, that stuff's hard to get off when you're trying to.
Has nothing to fucking do with the beer.
Has nothing to do with the beer. Has nothing to do with the food. I'm just a total
Humans can be pretty nasty.
Salty bitch about it.
But I would say, like, if you haven't been to Fisher Brewing,
oh yeah, I
like,
love Fisher.
You fucked up. Like, they really kicked things off for Salt Lake, for Utah, like, for what a craft brewery is.
Yeah.
Like,
what I can really appreciate about them too is that they're bringing in every day a local food truck.
Yeah, they've got that dialed in.
Yeah,
and it's an immersive experience. You're in the brew house. They're always doing shit in there.
Yeah,
and they've got the service. Like, I'm probably gonna go there after this. Now I'm talking about Fisher, but but I was always like hesitant to open a brewery here in Utah. I'm like, they're not ready for this, and like, because I toured breweries all across the country, and Fisher is kind of like an ideal like craft brewery. And when they opened, I'm like, holy shit, this is scary. Like, they're doing this here in Salt Lake, and you go out there like, this is awesome. This is what Salt Lake needs so bad.
Yeah,
and they kind of kicked things off to say, hey, we're doing this. It's not Salt Lake at all. It's okay.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, all of us, homebrewer or whatever, dreamers, were just like,
wow,
it's ready. Let's do this.
And why they stand out, I think, so much is because the owners, the boys that opened it, they care.
Yeah.
They give a fuck. They give a fuck about you. They give a fuck about their workers, and they just care.
Yeah.
They care about the community. It's not just about making money. It's about their team, the community, and everything they're doing. And they opened that place when we were at 4% beer for 2 years. I think their 6-year anniversary is coming up in a couple weeks or less.
Yeah.
But they opened at 4% beer for the first couple years, and they killed it.
Yeah.
They're making excellent beer at 4%.
Yeah.
You know, that's interesting too, is because I think just the whole craft brewery thing has been pushing kind of it's improving the image of beer that I think Utah's always tried to tarnish so hard, of being like, oh yeah, it's just some drunk drinking the Milwaukee's best. What's beer good for? Nothing. And then all of people like you, Chad, and you, David, and all the craft breweries really in the state, you're showing that, like, this is really an art form, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. We're not just brewing it because we want to get wasted. We're brewing it because we have a true passion behind wanting to build better beer and enjoy that beer and offer an experience that's better than just, going to a 7-Eleven and getting a domestic beer like Budweiser or Coors or something,
Right.
Yeah.
Natty Bush.
Oh god.
Natty Light Bush.
Those are good to shotgun, maybe.
Fisher used to have they used to do every Sunday, not every Sunday, but like every other Sunday, they used to do a morning yoga class.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And it was great because by the time the class was over, they could serve alcohol. It was like 10:30, and so you
did all the work, and then
you're in a room,
get rewarded.
You get this wonderful exercise, and then with a room full of beautiful women, and then when you're done, you get to enjoy a nice
men in there too.
Cold beer after. It's great.
Also, guys,
there's a bunch of beautiful men.
Honestly, I used to go with Ches, and I think the two of us, like, sometimes we're the only dudes in there, and that's the great thing about yoga. I love yoga. Sorry to sound all,
Everybody has their own motivators, I suppose.
But one thing I do want to add about Utah beer is, like, we've been so limited for so long with the 4% thing. Like, like, as Utah has, like, as you guys are seeing, Utah's grown and grown. Like, kind of like we used to be our own little thing, and now we've been figured out. People are moving out here, and like all these beers are showing up in our grocery stores. Like, what the fuck? We didn't have this for so long.
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
As Utah's been getting discovered, all these there's several years back, like all these big breweries, all these cool craft breweries showed up in our grocery store at 4%. I'm like, what is this? And they could not touch Utah beer.
No.
Yeah.
Like, and these are some of my favorite breweries that I would drink their IPA. If I'm out of state, like, I'm drinking their IPAs and whatever, and I'm loving their beer. And then they bring their 4% shit, and it is not up to standards of Utah.
It was funny because when we walked through the tour at the brewery, Kurt looked in the corner. He's like, "Oh, I was just wondering what that was," but I realized it's water. And you're like, "Yeah, it's reverse osmosis water." And then we were talking. I was like, "That's crazy. I never would have thought you could get like really clean water and mix it with the local water, and that adds a layer of potential flavor to whatever you're brewing." Whereas when you start with perfectly clean, like distilled water or something, you just got a blank slate. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, I never really thought that water would matter that much.
Beer is mostly water.
Yeah, and it's true. I bet you could get a really interesting one if you use like LA water. You know?
Oh, it'll change the whole profile.
Yeah.
Like that was one thing I loved about home brewing is just like I'm gonna do the same recipe with this water, and then I'm gonna try this water and this water, and like try those, and that's like changed totally it different. Huge.
Yeah.
I could talk to you guys for another 2 hours, but it is Super Bowl, and I know, David, you need to get cooking. You made some, it sounds like you made some beautiful
beef ribs.
Some beef ribs, yeah. But I want to thank you guys very much for coming on the show. It's been awesome. Thanks for having us in your brewery today. It was quite the experience.
Yeah, go check it out. If you haven't been to a brewery, especially Hopkins, go down and check it out because it's a cool, relaxed vibe. They're always everybody there is really helpful. If you can walk in and be like, I have no idea, bring me something, and they'll figure it out.
Do you guys want to shout out some addresses real quick on where to find Hopkins and Strap Tank?
Oh yeah, so the Hop is on 21st South and I don't know, about 10th East, 1048 East, 2100 South. There's a big spiky ball spinning on the building. You can park on the side street or in the back or something.
Yeah.
So pretty easy to find. So.
And then Strap Tank is in Lehigh and Springville. Just type in the only brewery in Utah County. You get both of them. And then shameless plug, if you go use the code Tastemasters upon checking out at Hopkins, you'll save 10% on your food.
I do that every time I go to Hopkins, including today. This has been the Weekly InSalt. Thank you guys for listening. Get drunk.
Thank you guys, really. Taking time on your Super Bowl Sunday.
I'll charge you for this.
Dude, I'm
still mad at you for not bringing the beef ribs, but you brought beer.
I'm serious because I didn't like beef ribs for the longest time until I made them, and then I burnt. Oh, I gotta show you my blister. Dude, you gotta see this shit.
Pants on or off?